So in the past month, I haven't really given many updates on Operation Ark, and there's good reason for that. I haven't really worked on Operation Ark in the past month. Yeah, that's not good. This was supposed to be the month where I got this book ready for beta readers, and it's still a complete mess. After rereading my second draft again, there's a good chunk I'm gonna have to rewrite a huge chunk of it, and to make it worse, I have no motivation to work on this project. This past week, I haven't even been trying to write Operation Ark, instead of actually been trying to revisit some of the material that inspired me to write it in the first place. And to be perfectly honest, so far this plan to revisit what inspired me to write this book in the first place is actually working really well. I'm really hoping that I can finally get some positive momentum going for this project as we go into the new year. Typically right now I'd say let's get writing, but again, I'm not even trying to write right now. If anything, I'm trying to fall back in love with this project. So let's go ahead and procrastinate productively, I guess. Hi, I'm Patrick Niall, this is the road to publishing my first book. I don't even know what week or episode it is on this vlog series, I have to go back and count, but it's been like 6 months. When I first started this series, the road to publishing my first book was really smooth. Now it's getting a little rough, but hey, that's how it goes. I would honestly be questioning if I was going about writing a book the right way if it was smooth sailing throughout. That being said, hopefully the road smooths out soon because this December has been pretty rough. To be perfectly honest, I really have not written at all in December. Recently, I actually wrote a sci-fi short story for a Christmas video, but other than that, I haven't written anything at all. Sitting at my desk and working on my second drafts has felt like pulling teeth. And I use the term falling back in love with my book in the beginning of this video. It's not that I no longer love this idea, I just can't bring myself to work on it. And that's why I'm hoping that re-exploring the material that inspired this book in the first place can reignite my inspiration to actually work on writing it. A lot of times when I do have writer's block, forcing myself to sit at the desk and write actually does work for me. I guess it's kind of like a fake it till you make it type thing, but at this point I feel like I'm just burning myself out beyond repair. So for this week, I'm gonna try to remove the pressure I've been putting on myself to write Operation Ark by not allowing myself to sit at the computer. Well, I'm still gonna use my computer, I'm just not gonna write sitting at my computer. I'm not gonna allow myself to open Operation Ark's document for this week. Instead, I'm giving myself the all clear to procrastinate by re-exploring the material that inspired Operation Ark. I guess you could call this a mini vacation from writing, but I'm gonna call it productive procrastination. And the key phrase there is productive. In late November and December, I found myself wasting so much time, basically just wasting away in bed watching video after video or just lying there doing nothing. There have been a lot of points recently where I'm just lying on the couch watching garbage TV, knowing I should be doing something for either my channel or my book, and I'm just sitting there like putting it off. This is the worst type of procrastination because I'm not enjoying it. I'm an avid procrastinator, so you can tell by the name of this channel and a lot of my videos, and one rule I try to make for myself is if I am going to procrastinate, at least do something that's going to be enjoyable. So that's basically what I'm trying to do this week. I'm putting off Operation Ark by a week. Enjoy that time. Enjoy that time and re-explore inspiration in the process. So what has inspired Operation Ark, you're probably wondering? As I've mentioned before, the Fallout video game series has been a huge inspiration for Operation Ark. I've used a comparison before. No, Operation Ark is not just Fallout in space, but there is a lot of comparison to the Arks and the Vaults. So on top of playing Fallout 1 this week, which I'll get into later in this video, I also watched the show for the first time. Yeah, I honestly can't believe it took me that long to finally watch that show. Yeah, I don't only procrastinate writing, I also procrastinate watching TV. While I am shocked that it took me that long to finally watch the show, I'm honestly kind of glad that I waited until now because the amount of inspiration I've gotten from it has been immense. The world of Fallout is very different than the world of Operation Ark, but just diving back in the world of Fallout just really jogged my memory of all these great ideas I had for this series. I'm not going to go too deep into the show, that's not the point of this video, but it also was very well written, which is always helpful as a writer, at least I feel, when you watch a show or a movie that's well written to kind of like get you inspired to create your own series, novel, or whatever you're writing. There's something about good writing that just inspires good writing. Again, I'm not going to ramble on about the show, but the one thing I will say is I actually added the theme of the Brotherhood of Steel to my writing playlist. That's more the vibe of Operation Ark. I love the old-timey songs in the Fallout series, but they just don't go with Operation Ark. They're two different projects. Speaking of Fallout, another video game that really inspired Operation Ark is Portal. In fact, if you mix Fallout and Portal and you put it in space, you start to get a feeling of what the vibe of Operation Ark is. Portal, if you don't know, is a game that you're a test subject and you have to solve puzzles using a portal gun. Side note, there are no portals in Operation Ark, just putting that out there. I don't know why, I felt it was really important to tell you there are no portals. So as you can guess, I spent a lot of this week playing Portal and Fallout. It was a lot of fun, and like watching the Fallout show, it came with a lot of writing inspiration to continue this project. That being said, I didn't just sit around and play video games all week, I did some reading too. This week I went back and read Ender's Game, because this book is honestly what got me into writing sci-fi in the first place. I guess it's not a direct inspiration for Operation Ark, but without Ender's Game, there is no Operation Ark. Without Ender's Game, there might not be Patrick Niall, the author. Like, that's how big of an inspiration this book was for me. Honestly, if it wasn't for this book, I probably wouldn't be a reader today. The other book I'm gonna read during the rest of this week is the Bible. No, I'm not gonna read the entire Bible in a week, I'm not insane. As you can probably tell by the space stations in Operation Ark being named Arks, Genesis is a huge inspiration for Operation Ark. As you know, Operation Ark is a temporary title for this book. I actually do have the actual title. I've thought about it for a while, and I really like this title. I'm not going to reveal it yet, but I do have a title. But before I thought of this title, I actually thought of including the term Genesis in the title. But obviously, the book of Genesis does have a big influence on this story. The Great Flood is an obvious parallel to the nuclear annihilation of Earth. So I really want to read through the book of Genesis to see if maybe it'll inspire some other stories. I know the general idea of the book of Genesis, but I have not read it since high school. An idea I actually had for the series was for each book to kind of draw influence from like a different Bible book. Now with that being said, I'm talking a lot of Bible here. I do want to make one thing really clear. This is not a Catholic book. Operation Ark is not Catholic fiction or Christian fiction or Jewish fiction or religious fiction in any way. I think that'll be really clear once I reveal the title I have. That's why I love this title so much. The reason I bring that up is I don't want to turn off readers who are not into religious books, and I also don't want to false promise a book that people get excited for only to realize it's not a Christian book. The religious references in Operation Ark are more Easter eggs than anything else. Honestly, once I release the title, you'll see what I mean. I personally went to Catholic high school, an all-boys school actually, but don't worry, Operation Ark is not going to be preachy or anything like that. I'm not a very religious person, to be honest. That being said, now I'm going to read the book of Genesis. That was a really odd transition. So a lot of reading the book of Genesis in the Bible has kind of just been reinforcing the themes that I kind of want to cover in this book. But the one thing that I really noticed is there's no story kind of covering the Adam and Eve story. Covering the sense where that's like the perfect story to kind of echo in like one of my stories. The idea of temptation corrupting the mind of somebody in the ark and causing a good thing to be ruined is very compelling to me. So now when I do get back to writing, because again, I said I'm not going to write during this week, but when I do get back to writing, I'm going to write a story that's kind of echoing Adam and Eve for Operation Ark. I feel like that has a lot of potential.
In hindsight, I did not realize how much setting my intelligence to 1 would negatively affect my gameplay in this game. Honestly, dedication from the writers. I'll give them some credit.
One thing that's really funny about Fallout 1 is just how ridiculously unforgiving the game is. Most games these days really try to hold your hands with tutorials and stuff like that. Not Fallout 1. My original plan was to record my playthrough and kind of show you guys, but to be honest, I had no idea what I was doing. And then when I try to figure out what I was doing, it turns out the instruction manual for this game is like an entire book on its own. To be honest, I feel like that would turn off a lot of people, but it's honestly compelling me even more to understand how to play this game. That being said, after I realized I had no clue what I was doing, I kind of abandoned my idea of kind of recording my playthrough so I don't have any footage. If you are a fan of the game though, and you do want to see footage going into the future, I actually do plan on doing a new series where I kind of cover stories in video games. Going into the new year, I've been trying to find some interesting new video series I can do, and one thing I was kind of thinking about is kind of covering writing in video game series. I feel like the writing world does not give enough credit to well-written video games, and I kind of want to make a series about that. And you know, since the Fallout series did in part inspire Operation Ark, I think it would be only fitting that I start that series by playing Fallout 1. So no, there'll be no gameplay footage in this video, but expect that video out sometime in January. Yeah, I don't know exactly when I'm going to film that video, but sometime in January sounds right. I'm currently in the process of shifting all my video making from my iPhone to my computer, so that's kind of why I'm not really sure when I'm going to make that video, because right now, I'm making this video on my iPhone, but in the future, I really want to make them on the computer because I feel like the videos on the computer are just so much better. On the other side, though, they do take more time to make, so that's kind of why I'm trying to figure out my schedule and all that stuff. I'm also thinking of doing a series where I cover indie books every single month. In particular, sci-fi indie books, I feel like those do not get enough credit. So if you have any recommendations, it can be your own book, let me know in the comments below. I might not get to your recommendations right away because I do have a pretty extensive to-be-read list, but I'll get to it eventually. While playing Portal, one thing that's really dawned on me is during Operation Ark, I've been really focusing on genetic experiments. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Operation Ark is supposed to be about genetic experiments. That being said, during this series, I also want to include technological experiments, and I feel like those have taken a back seat. It's really interesting how your mind can refocus on stuff like that when you're not actively thinking about it. It's funny, I've been putting so much less active effort into thinking about Operation Ark this week, and yet I've been thinking about it so much more. I'm not exaggerating when I say this is the most I've thought about this project in a long time. Yeah, we'll see how it goes in the coming weeks, but I definitely think taking this week to reset was a good idea. In terms of actively writing Operation Ark, this week has been a weird one. On one hand, I've written absolutely nothing. On the other hand, I feel like my vision for this project is the clearest it's ever been. Maybe it is just optimism as the year approaches, but I really feel like the next few weeks for Operation Ark will be really productive. For the first time in a long time, I feel excited when I think about working on this project. We'll see how this goes when I actually sit down to write next week, but I really hope I can hold on to this enthusiasm. That being said, that's going to do it for this writing vlog where I didn't write a single word. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hopefully the next episode of the road to publishing my first book is a productive one. Anyway, I'm gonna go try to figure out how to play Fallout 1 now, because I'm completely lost.